And now it's time for Circle 3, the podcast where we give it our all, and you never give us any change. It's Brandon, Chris, and Paul right now.
Yo, yo.
It is Brandon, Chris, and Paul. What is up? What is up? What is up? I decided not to use, what's today. What is? I'm just feeling super formal. It's an informal show. I had to add a bit of formality. It's Circle 3. It's Brandon. It's Chris. It's Paul Blair. And we are here on our first Wednesday night for Circle 3. Chris, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, my man. We're fully vaccinated. I'm not pro or anti, just pumped about it. And I just want to say, I know today's a holiday. I know a lot of people are celebrating, hopefully safely and responsibly. But I just want to wish everyone a happy World Maths Day.
Quick maths.
World Maths Day.
2 + 2 is 4. Quick maths.
Yep. It is under a category of holiday. It's for a cause. So, yeah. I think it's some Cinco de Mayo thing too, but
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, there's a lot of Cinco de Mayo. There's a lot of numbers there too. So I mean, without Maths Day, would we even say that tomorrow?
Right? We've got a great night planned tonight, guys. As always, Brandon, Chris, and Paul here to attempt to entertain you for the next while. And our next guest needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyways. Gentlemen, I've got to know quite well over the past year. Just someone who is a friend to so many on the Discraft Macbeth and Pierce Collectors page. A friend to so many in the disc golf scene across the United States of America. And a friend to the three of us introducing our guest for the evening. Storytime Jim, Mr. James White. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you?
Golf clap for Jim. Golf clap for Jim.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for.
It's always good to have you, Uncle Jim.
So, James, how have you been, sir?
I've been good. I've been real good. I'm a nurse here in Columbus, Ohio. Busy getting past the COVID times, and been more busy trying to get on the course and play, and already had a tournament and ready for some more.
Excellent.
Nice. My friend Greg Fokker is a nurse too. How long have you been nursing, being a nurse?
Nursing for me was a second career. I used to be a chef and a restaurant manager. I was in the restaurant business as my first career, and I didn't get into nursing. I didn't go to nursing school till I was 30, and 4 years of that. So I think I've been a nurse now for about 14, 15 years.
Nice. Well, since it's National Maths Day, I could quickly calculate you've probably saved at least 12,000 lives in that time, or impacted them in a positive way.
Just last week, my friend.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And Kerns, just in reference to your question about Greg Fokker, I'm wondering, I've got nipples. Can you milk me?
Oh yeah, I'll meet you in Windsor, bro. I'll meet you halfway.
I don't know if anyone caught that Meet the Parents reference there, but Kerns dropped that in super smooth, super smooth.
Yep. P.S. FYI, some of you may be concerned that I'm not rocking my usual Champ Fuel. I've got this little mug, but a good friend of mine, Brian Frowley, Papa Wolf, we were working a tournament together this weekend, and he gave me a pack of his custom birdie fuel for Wolfpack discs, which is called Wolf Juice. So I'm digging it.
That's a wicked segue too, Kerns, to shout out our sponsors of the podcast, Wolfpack Discs. Shout out to Brian Frawley, Wolfpack Discs. Did that tournament run last weekend? This weekend that just passed, Chris? Was that the tournament you were helping out with? Yeah? So
yeah, it was just this past weekend.
We'll talk a little bit about that in one of our segments today. And a huge shout out to them. And then to our second sponsor, Sweet Spot Disc Golf, the sweetest spot in the land. head to Wolfpack Discs and Sweet Spot Disc Golf. Check them out. Give them your support. And I think to start today, we're going to talk a little bit about some disc golf that happened this weekend. We had the pleasure of talking about the first round on Thursday night last week when we were having a little casual outside the circle, but the Dynamic Discs Open has officially finished. The winner was Rauta. He shot, that was the virtual Dynamic Discs Open. I had a great time hosting the virtual DDO too, guys. That video has almost 10,000 views on YouTube right now.
Holy
from
crap.
The virtual DDO last week on Wednesday. We had 1,000 live viewers, and it was pretty cool. Had a great time with that. But let's talk about the real thing. And I actually got an overlay screen that when we said we were going to do this, I prepared about 6 seconds ago. So hopefully this works. There we go. There's all of us. And there's that
Nice.
handy U-Disc scoreboard for the Dynamic Discs Open. And we look at our top four here, and I think the most surprising thing for me here in this top four, without talking about Paul's win first, is going to be talking about that Calvin Heimberg let Chris Dickerson make that comeback. After the front nine, I thought Calvin was just juiced out there. And OB is not part of Calvin's game the way he went OB. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know what it was. How do you guys feel about that?
For me, Calvin doesn't seem like a guy that nerves would get to him. I mean, he's one of the most even-keeled guys out there on a regular basis. I mean, it could be a circle 3 putt to an insane park job, an eagle. I mean, he's never high or low. It's like always the same face. Like, it's almost comical. So I don't know what happened there. I just know it was kind of a dream final card. I mean, you had Paul, Ricky, Eagle, and Calvin, like all the, quote unquote 1050 boys. And I had a blast watching that round. I actually went and rewatched it. Just, Paul got off to an insane start. Then Calvin comes in hot right in the middle of the round. And then, next thing you know, Paul's up by 6 strokes. It was insane. It was a roller coaster.
Speaking of sexy Pauls, Paul Blair. How did you feel about the...
That's an awkward segue.
No, it was an incredible segue. How did you feel about the final round coverage, man?
I honestly missed it. This is where a more professional podcast host would tell you all the things that he'd read about it, but I missed the entire final round. So I've been a little bit quiet here, basking in the glory of the numbers on National Maths Day. I've read some articles on it, some write-ups on it, but in the end, I just something got in the way. What do they call that? Real life? At any rate.
Well, integrity
Looked
takes
fun.
precedent here, so
Well, I mean,
respect that, Paul.
we talk about the elite, right, guys? And no snub to Ben Calloway, Drew Gibson, Gavin Rathbun, Presnell, Hammies, Yuli, Zachariah Johnson, who was hanging up there the entire tournament. Like, no snub to those guys, but 5-stroke difference between our top 4 and 5th place and down. Like, James White, that's a gap that kind of defines elite, isn't it?
It is. Going back to your last point originally, I think one of the things I noticed when I was looking over the stats, I didn't notice, I don't know how this breaks down for Calvin's, how many were in his last round, but Calvin and Ricky had, even in the top 10, I think they had the most OB strokes, the most OBs, with 12 each for the tournament. And I think Paul and Eagle were maybe like 6 or 7. And, there it is right there.
So Ricky had 6 OB strokes in his final round.
Okay. Well, then he had six in the first 3 leading up to that.
And Calvin 7 OB strokes in his final round. So yeah, that was pretty interesting and atypical of those guys.
It was all neck and neck until that final round. I don't think Calvin had a bogey till the 3rd round. He had 1.
I felt like there was if you remember, the third round, where it was the shot over the water. It was the island hole, and Paul skipped one off the water onto the island. Do you remember that, Chris?
Yeah.
And
yeah, he did it a couple
then he
times.
hit that. He hit that putt from the back wall. I don't know if he hit. Maybe that was the putt from the back wall was a different. But that hole the way he did, and then Ricky threw sort of a flex shot with a maroon bird, but that was an OB that I felt like set the stage. It just felt like Ricky kind of had a chance to go in the lead, or at least tied with those other three guys, and then he was one stroke off, and that seemed to kind of set the stage.
Yeah,
it's third round.
My favorite shot of the tournament, though, was Ricky throwing in that putt from the drop zone.
Drop zone putt was amazing.
Ricky putt written on my sheet here. It was, and I think the coolest thing about that hole was that all four of them missed the island. Like every single one of them had to lay up from that drop zone, and Paul did a pure layup. Eagle kind of like half ran it. Calvin just did what Calvin does with a putter. And Rick, there was just no doubt. He just stood there and he threw it. He did not putt. Just his typical straight from the top of the chest, super smooth. And the joy, that was the coolest moment of the weekend. And I got to give a huge shout out to Jomez Pro. Our good friend Will Sherrill mentioned it in the Discraft All Day group. But the production of that front nine final round. If you guys haven't watched it, watch it. Bring some tissues. And listen to what disc golf is all about for 5 minutes, guys. Listen to this community come together and give their love to Rick. And really, that's what it's all about in times when we're fighting about who claimed what disc for what price, and times when we're fighting about how fast people are flipping things and we can't get colors we want from the Ledgestone drop, which in perspective to real life and real disc golf all seems petty as shit. So, and I complain about it all the time.
It actually is. Yeah.
It is, right? So it's remember that, guys. When you're collecting discs from a sport that is just so much more than plastic and so much more than frisbees and so much more than throwing. It's the community. It's why we all got into this. I don't know about you guys, but it's why I love disc golf, and it's why I've continued to stick with disc golf and keep playing, because the community is everything. So
absolutely. I mean, the best thing to collect in this sport is friends. Star shooting in the sky, rainbow. We can't afford professional special effects.
The only reason I have social media is because of disc golf, and it's not just so I can find gross Tour Series Lunas. It's my favorite thing is like on the Discraft Macbeth and Pierce Collector group. We'll have like giveaway only days, or people surprise, other people with like their dream disc, or we do fundraisers. I mean, that's when we're at our best. And
this, the plastic is nice, but you can't really let it get in the way. So.
For everyone listening at home in our podcast version on Apple Music and Spotify, we got some disgusting Tour Series Lunas. 996 Fierces, 2021 Tour Series Lunas. Oh man, these are just ghost stamp Lunas. We hardly even know. Kerns has got some green in his fingers, obviously, because I love that Luna, Kerns. That looks so nice. So speaking of DDO, let's switch over to the FPO, and this was an FPO field without Paige Pierce this week, who is hanging out in Hawaii doing her thing. And shout out to Paige Pierce. If you guys don't sponsor Paige on Patreon, join her Patreon. Your $5 a month could turn into a $100 gift card that your boy won this month from the Paige Pierce giveaway. Giving myself the little shout out. I was super stoked. I woke up the other morning and I just had the worst headache, and obviously the first thing I did to cure a headache is go on my phone. And I realized I won that giveaway, and I was like, yes, this is so awesome. And she literally said in the message she sent me, she's like, congrats, here's a $100 gift card. There's nothing to buy on the website. I'd probably wait 2 weeks to use it. Love Paige.
She's the
Ooh,
best.
drop hints, drop alert.
Drop alert,
Ooh.
guys. Couple weeks. Check out pagepierce.com. There will be a restock. I think I'm going to buy, I don't think I'm going to wait. There's a really nice New Era Paige Pierce logo stamp, like small stamp hoodie with the Discraft stamp on the back. These New Era hoodies are the best. The quality of them is so good. I know, Kerns, you have them for your underground hoodies, I think. They are absolutely dynamite. So if you guys are buying Discraft apparel, make sure you check out what brand they are. And the worst part is, if you like Paul Macbeth, his apparel sucks. Like Paul Macbeth, use New Era, use the better stuff, Discraft, for the Macbeth apparel. We want high quality
may or may not
sweaters.
represent Circle 3 as a whole.
We want high quality sweaters, ladies and gentlemen.
We do, but we still would like you to come on the show.
Hey,
I can't. I have some of the Macbeth hats and the beanies. I like those. I haven't bought any of
hats
the
are
sweaters
great.
yet, though.
so
And
anyways,
just another, to reiterate, one more plea from those of us with, the same size head we've had our entire lives. Please, if you're involved in the production of disc golf, anything, memorabilia, anything where you have a wholesale account, and you want to say order some hats, please order something large, like size 8 maybe would be great. Give me something.
8 is great. National
Thanks.
Mass Day.
8 is great.
Paul, that I've been over the years with these hats. I have a gigantic head, and I had to not have a flat brim just so I could fit and show you how many holes are holding this thing together for me.
It
Two
looks like
snaps
two.
is not enough.
2
And
snaps.
it's tight. It's tight with 2 because I have too much pride for 1.
When I was on my first T-ball team at age, I think 6, the hats they gave us were, the one size fits all. Because back in the 80s, that's what we said. It wasn't one size fits most. It was one size fits all. If it didn't fit you, you suck. And let me tell you, I could get mine on, but it was only by fastening that single last snap. And for those of you that haven't had this experience, which is probably everyone who's currently turning off the podcast, what that means is that becomes, because it no longer is a row of attachment points, it becomes a hinge. You just have that single point and it bends upon it. It's not comfortable. It doesn't stay on. It just highlights that you have a gigantic melon and all your friends don't.
I'm surprised they haven't made like an extension that goes right over those.
Well, I mean, if they won't even make larger hats, why are they going to make special things for us? But
Yeah, I suppose.
It
we'll
reminds
reiterate,
me of the
Flex Fit
Leftorial.
XL, XSL does work. You could
Instead of
order
just
one.
left-handed stores, they need big-headed stores. A store called Big Head, and then people would just be offended that they made a store for people with big heads. Why are you singling me out? Just because I have
Are you
a big
suggesting I
head?
go to the Mensa gift shop? I haven't tried that.
Whoa! FPO guys, we got a little off topic there, but it doesn't matter. We're just here to
Katrina
have fun.
Allen. We're going to talk Katrina Allen for a second because she apparently is a big fan of Calvin Heimberg. I don't know if this was a consolation effort trying to just duplicate him hole for hole, but she had the same end game he did. And it's interesting being a Katrina Allen fan. And again, also I'm a Bengals fan. So this is very similar. The Bengals tend to win. And yeah, I'm bringing up NFL 2 episodes in a row. Deal with it. The Bengals tend to win the first 3 quarters, and watching Katrina Allen lose to Haley King again in just the last couple holes. I feel for you, Kat.
And Haley didn't really have to do anything then other than just keep consistent. I mean, she had 2 birdies in the last 9 holes. She was even in the first 9 holes with 2 birdies and 2 bogeys. It was pretty standard golf. I don't want to discredit her. She played great, consistent golf at a tough course on a pretty windy day in that final round. So, shout out to Haley King. Huge shout out to Discraft. I want to give a huge shout out to Heather Young. Heather Young had an amazing second last round. And then Macy Walker, eagling 17. And Macy Walker, if you don't know who Macy Walker is, definite
You
up
do
and
now.
coming dynamic discs slayer. This is 3 tournaments in a row. She's been on some lead cards. She's finished in the top 6. So when you were expecting see the likes of Valerie and Alexis Mandujano up in the top. And I mean, Kona was up there in 5th, but we're seeing some unlikely young ladies really, really representing the sport coming up and kicking some ass.
Yeah, if you see Macy Walker, it's worth, if you didn't watch the women's coverage, it's worth going back, watch the Final 9 for that. She crushes that disc, forehand and backhand. And it's impressive. And just what she had to do to tie for 3rd there at the end was totally worth it. It was good.
Yeah, I think she's got the potential, kind of like Haley, as well as maybe that next wave of FPO player that has a great backhand, has a great forehand, like great diversity in shots they can execute at a high level. I think she's going to be an exciting player to watch for a long time. But I will say I miss having the 3-headed dragon of European ladies.
Oh, absolutely. So of those 3, let's if y'all don't know who those 3 European ladies are, we're not going to say all their names back to back right now, but I think so. The 3 of them,
do we?
3 of them any day against each other. Who are you taking? I think my money, hands down, any day is on Kristen Tatar.
I'm going to go Henna.
Yeah, I know.
That's my pick.
There's 3 choices and there's, 3
I'm
hosts.
going Evelina. I'm going Evelina.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Paul. I'm sorry I cut you off there, Paul.
No, now Paul has
Well,
the
that's
hard
actually
job.
perfect.
Now Paul has the hard job.
You don't have the easy job. I was going to say, Brandon, I agree with you. I think Tatar is my pick. And I'm not even going to go there for that joke. But the bottom line is, I think she's the purest candidate for that win.
I think when it comes to Kristen Tatar, what she can do with a fairway driver consistently under any pressure, I think the way she throws the Saint Pro is maybe the smoothest I've seen any person throw any disc. She can carve such crazy lines and she can do it under immense pressure. And I think what she has that those other 2 ladies don't quite have too is a little bit more refined putting technique, which I think at the end of the day really matters a whole hell of a lot. Evelina has insane distance that can rival Paige. And I think if she had a little bit more refinement on that short game, but what bugs me about Evelina's game is she gets within 120 feet of the basket and then she does these weird forehand approach shots that aren't really forehand approach shots and runs them 30, 35 feet past the basket and then leaves herself a circle 2 putt. And I think she's so young, right? I think that's the other advantage Kristen Tatar has is its experience. Not that she's not young, but she's got those extra, I don't know, I'm going to guess at least 5-6 years on those ladies where she's learned how to not go all out all the time, which is what I think Henna does and why I didn't pick her Kerns, because she's a badass, but if stuff starts to fall apart, she doesn't know how to take her foot off the gas and regroup. So that's my analysis of those 3.
Yeah, it's important to be able to tell the difference between your opponent's throat and the gas pedal and when to let off each of them.
No, you guys are wrong. I'm right, but whatever. That's my analysis.
Strong rebuttal, Chris. Very,
Well,
very
okay,
strong
let's talk
rebuttal.
signature discs. Who's got the better signature disc? Because that's also Tatar. I'm just saying.
Your face.
Yeah,
That's got
that
a better
face.
signature disc.
that Salon and Destroyer with the swan on it was pretty weak. I won't lie, but I mean that's the definition of Innova's Tour Series. So pretty weak.
We're going to, when they can come back to the U.S. and battle, we're going to make some bets.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we? Okay. I like it.
Yep.
I like it. Well, we got another tournament coming up this weekend, and I've heard so many different pros talking about it in interviews and little clips and people shouting it out on Instagram. But all I hear people saying about this course for the OTB Open is what a beast it is. BEAST. No, not the one in Europe. It is going to be long, it is going to be tight, and it is going to be tough. And I know Danny and the crew have been working their asses off. So even though they're not a continuing sponsor of the podcast, we've got nothing but the highest regard and love for the folks at OTB. So huge shout out to Danny Corbett, huge shout out to the guys at OTB, and this is going to be a fun tournament to watch. So predictions, folks. MPO, FPO, dark horse from each of us. Who's going to take it home for the men? Who's going to take it home for the ladies? And who's that dark horse from either division that's going to finish up near the top? So let's start with Mr. Chris Kerns.
Oh, put me on the spot right out of the gate. I want to know so the Beast, I haven't seen, what's that main course that they're using? I haven't seen it yet. Is it a totally new layout?
Well, it's just a quick shout out to OTB's production crew for this. They're actually posting whole previews for both MPO and FPO on YouTube. So if you follow OTB Discs on YouTube, great, you're cool. How'd you miss that? And if you don't, you should, because then you get to see cool things like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's it's hard for me not to pick Paul. I mean, I almost feel like the McBeast is back the way he just played. Especially some of those big putts he was banging. So, I mean, I'm gonna go for MPO. I gotta go with Macbeth. My dark horse over there would be what's the guy's name that we were talking about last week? He was in the lead for quite a bit there, first few rounds. Discraft player.
Ben Calloway?
Yeah, he might be. I don't know. I'm gonna say he's my dark horse, even though he's been crushing it. I think he could.
Absolutely.
I think he could show up and win, and I think this year's been a good experience for him on the big stage. So, and then on FPO, man, is Paige going to be playing? I'm so uninformed.
Yes, the OTB Open does mark the triumphant return of Paige Pierce to professional disc golf in this part of the season after a break in Hawaii.
Yeah.
More later in the news. Actually, that's the only thing I had to say about it.
She's been kind of struggling a little bit. I think this week is maybe this after being out in Hawaii and coming back. Maybe I'm going to predict she's kind of refound her center. Maybe she was feeling some pressure about the 1,000 rating, and it's time to show up and just get fierce out there. And then dark horse for the ladies. Man, that's a tough one. I'm going with Kona. I don't know. It's hard to pick a dark horse, but.
And that's all the time we had for that segment, folks.
Yeah, I know. I was so thrilling
that's
there.
My line.
I'm going to drink some wolf juice.
James White, let's hear your picks now that you've had 3 hours to think about them.
I think it's time for Eagle to step up.
Fly, Eagle, fly.
He looked great. If it is a beast, like you say, well, and I don't want to stick with the brand here, but this is Simon's first tournament back, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
And I think if you watch him play Paul's course with him, it's almost like that's the first time he ever realized he could and score and do well. And like his eyes were opened. You remember that video where he was throwing Paul's lines and Paul was throwing his?
Yep.
Was that at Paul's course or that was at the other, wherever that was? It was almost like Simon was like, what? I can't believe it can be like this. So who knows? That'd be a fun dark horse, wouldn't it?
That'd be
After
awesome.
an elbow injury.
Yeah, what a story.
I think, FPO.
Haley with the repeat.
Love it.
And let's dark horse Macy Walker.
There you go.
Oh, I mean, she's been playing great. And she's getting a real taste of that camera. Getting used to it.
Before we get to Mr. Paul Blair and leading us into our first break, my four very quick. Paul Macbeth, the absolute back-to-back winner, back-to-back weeks in tournaments. He's got the distance. He's got the precision. He's got the drive right now. And he doesn't give a fuck. And I'm going to say that right now. There you go, James. I told you could swear. He does not care. The to make that statement after what Ricky was going through last week, and I know it wasn't intentional in that sense about that I'm not here to make friends, but just like that's a statement. And like he is there to kick ass, and I think he's kind of clued into that again. Dark horse, Kyle Klein. Kyle's been working his butt off. I think he's had a little bit of a tough go. I know he wasn't feeling well a couple tournaments ago, so he's just been throwing. I think he can slay this course. He's
Michigan
definitely
native.
got the distance. He's got that nasty forehand. He can get some sneaky skips. So Kyle Klein, FPO, I'm going to give Haley a back-to-back too. I think she's smelling blood right now. I think Paige has got to get refocused. I don't know what's going on with Paige. James and I have had a chat about Paige and kind of our opinion. That's for a whole other podcast. We could have a whole podcast on that. I think she's just got to fall back in love with playing disc golf competitively, on camera, on the tour. And if that's not a fair assessment, I apologize for it. But it seems like you're right, Kerns. Maybe chasing that 1,000 rating, maybe a couple other things just put so much pressure on her. She forgot about how much fun disc golf is and how much she loves it. So I'm hoping she can get back in line with that. My dark horse for the FPO is going to be Kona Panis. Disgusting distance, ridiculous forehand. She's going to learn to putt this week. She's going to putt at the OTB Open. I think she had something like a 40-something Circle 1X percentage one day at the DDO. So
that stance is not pretty. That stance is not.
She's got to get it
attractive.
together. I think she's taking Garrett Girthy putting lessons. So
Okay, I kicked it. I'm gonna let you finish, but you're both wrong about that. She has credited that stance with being a big difference maker, and this season's been her best in history. So I think we're a bit early to criticize it. Everybody can have one bad tournament, and doing it at Emporia is an easy place to do it.
absolutely. And putting with the
Side note,
wind,
Paul
you're
Blair
right,
puts
Paul.
the same way.
I'm just saying it's not fun to watch.
I don't have a putting
I don't
stance.
care if Sarah Holcomb putts 100% circle 2. It's not fun to watch. That's all I'm saying.
So who are your picks, Paul Blair? Take us into the break.
Okay, for MPO, I think, so there's a lot of distance on this course. So I think the easy choice, and no offense to anyone who picked Eagle, but I think Eagle's the easy choice, right? He's fired up. His game's steadily improving, and he certainly has the shot selection and the distance to go up against anybody. So I think Eagle's a safe bet. I mean, Macbeth is a safer bet because he's never a bad bet, and nothing fires him up more than winning, except maybe losing to Ricky. So you got Ricky hot in his heels. It's going to be, my biggest prediction is it's going to be pretty epic to watch. With dark horse picks, though, I'm good with stories. I like a good story. A good story is good for the sport. It's good for entertainment. And we've got two potential great stories here. One is the Lizotte return, right? It'd be amazing if he came in playing, he's playing a little bit more reserved lately. He's talked about how he's, thinking more shot selection, less power, because he's still got to take care of his arm. But he's also made it clear that that's strengthened his game. So there's an easy story there, but also Ezra Aderhold, who missed DDO last week because of drama, digestively, not personally. Well, I guess it was probably pretty personal. We'll leave that behind. But he's sponsored by OTB. OTB gave him his first lifeline of funds while he was living in his Prius, touring by the skin of his teeth, being super frugal and just clawing his way up. We got people out there that are getting participation trophy discs for breaking 1,000. Aderhold's been over 1,000 for like a year and a half, and nobody cared. So for him to come to his sponsors tournament and take it, I think is plausible and would make an awesome story. So those are my MPO picks. For FPO,
Hell yeah.
I think Paige has got it. There's two schools of thought, right? Either she's off doing something else and is very distracted, or she took some time to go regroup and come back and kick ass. So I think she's going to take it. Dark horse, you never know how weather's going to play out. And I think Heather Young, who's not a great distance player, but who is a real dart thrower, has the potential to do that consistent thing she does, where she just claws her way up the leaderboard while the big arms knock themselves down on the harder days. So that's my dark horse pick.
I love it, Paul. Well, Paul Blair's taking us into the break. Paul Blair will take us out of the break. We're going to give you a couple commercials now from our sponsors and podcast listeners. This week is for you. We will not be doing our giveaway this week live on YouTube. We will be doing our giveaway for our podcast listeners. If you're listening live on YouTube, don't you worry. You can enter too. After we do the podcast live tonight, we will be putting a post up on our Instagram account. That is Circle3Cast, CIRCL3Cast. All you got to do is go to that post, make sure you subscribe and follow us on Instagram. Make sure you either subscribe to the podcast on Apple Music or Spotify, and comment on the post and tag a couple friends, and we will be running our draws live from that post. And you will get a chance to win a prize from one of our fantastic sponsors, Sweet Spot Disc Golf or Wolfpack Discs. So let's tell you a little bit about those guys right now. Take it into a break, and out of that break, the man who took us in will bring us right back out with a quick news segment right here.
Hey, that's me.
On Circle 3. See you in a minute.
Gather round, children. I, Gandalf, will tell you a tale of the times before. Of a legendary place, the sweetest spot in all the land, where circles of plastic would appear, glowing from our screens, and with the ritual of the cart, they would appear days later at our doors. The richest colors, the finest discs, and the kindest people. Oh, it truly was a sweet spot for disc golf. Some say this place still exists. Its vault sealed, the treasures glittering inside, awaiting the great prophecy of Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And that comes again. I hope you will be there.
Sweet Spot Disc Golf. So good, our advertising department writes fan fiction about us. You know that sound. That's the sound of grabbing a Wolfpack at the end of a long week. There's nothing better than cracking open a cold
Wolf?
and feeling that buzz
That's Discraft. Discraft Buzz.
start to take hold. At the end of a long work day, at the end of a long week, reach for us.
Wolfpack Discs.
We'll be there for you.
Welcome back. It's Circle 3 News. We don't really know why it's called that, but our people are on it. Most interesting news this week, the Portland Open, close to my heart, has been moved from its usual location of Blue Lake Park to what is going to be a fresh course design over at Glendevere. Glendevere is a ball golf or golf course frequented by the public. It's community owned. It's public run. It's a good place. Not a lot of places to throw discs usually, except at joggers who are already dodging golf balls. So we'll see how this goes. I, for one, am quite interested to see how it winds up and winds down. Ricky Wysocki set the course record at Jones Gold at the DDO with -15. He still lost. That sucks. Sorry, Ricky, having a hard week, but that'd be a better week than mine. In disc approval news, Innova has taken the step of selecting the name Grenade for an upcoming disc. So thanks, Innova. Are you throwing a grenade? Is now followed by, what do you mean? I throw Discraft. Or what do you mean? I don't have a grenade. Or isn't that the new disc from Innova? This is poor marketing, folks. We are already using that word. For those of you not aware, the grenade is a type of throw which you are probably not able to do if you don't know the name. And even if you know the name, you're probably bad at it. Eagle McMahon is good at it. You're not. Sorry, this is news, not counseling. Discraft has had the Scorch approved. This appears to be something near the heat.
Yeah.
See, that's clever. And we don't have a throw called a Scorch. So good job, Discraft. And Innova's also announced something called a Toro, but I don't care. That's it for this week's news. Stay tuned for things more entertaining.
That timing with the music there couldn't have been more perfect. We didn't plan that. That was some great news, Paul Blair. I think the Scorch is maybe one of the most perfect names for a disc I've heard in a long time. People were saying, like you said, big brother to the heat. What do you do with a whole bunch of heat? You scorch the freaking earth. And I've got mine, and I looked at it and I said, this is way too pretty to throw. So I gave it to my 1-year-old, and I let him take it outside under the concrete and put it in the wall a couple times and throw it in the rocks a couple times. And now I don't feel so bad about throwing it. So
Good strategy.
I
Actually, for those of you who watch the, for the 6 of you out there who care about this stuff, if you actually look at the PDGA's official photo of the disc they were sent for approval, Discraft sent them some fire. That is normally the discs that get sent in are pretty ordinary. That one, if that's anything representative of what the production run is going to look like, we are going to have a good year for Scorches. That is a beautiful disc.
Yep, and if people want to see how it flies, I did do a pretty fun little one disc challenge on my YouTube channel, which is just Chris Kerns 56700. And I am curious, so is it going to be a trendy thing this year? Like, if I'm throwing a skip shot with my Scorch, can I just say on the T-pad, I'm going Scorched Earth?
Yeah, I think
we
that's
just coin that term.
I think it's absolutely
dad joke it up.
Yeah. Also, with the grenade, are they just, is Innova going to make their own tilt? Because a tilt is kind of a grenade disc, so that seems kind of weird to me. The tilt should be called the
look at the
grenade.
approval data.
Oh, did Paul just freeze? I think
We're
Paul
playing a secret game of freeze tag in the chat, so I actually did just tag him.
I think Paul just froze. I think what he was going to say is, based on the data he looked at, yes. It's an okay time for Paul to freeze, though. I'm sure we'll get him back really soon. For the time being, we are going to give it to our good friend, Mr. James Storytime White. And in this segment, he's going to tell us a little story. So, Storytime, Jim, let's hand it over to you. I cannot wait to hear what you have for us today, sir.
Well, when I'm thinking about stories to tell, it's the thing that always seems worth telling is never really about the impressive shots. It's never really
Is
about
it the truth? We're
What's
always
that?
supposed to tell the truth.
Well, not always.
Oh, sorry.
This one is the whole
Keep
truth,
listening.
though. It's never really about the shots or the awe and wonder of the game, the things that you can see on YouTube. It's always about the people, and we talk about the relationships. And I think it was interesting that you brought up the segment on Jomez this week, where all the players were going around giving their condolences to Ricky and giving encouragement to Ricky. And I can remember Adam Hammis stood out to me because he said, I want you to win this week. And it was as believable. I totally believe him. And you can tell that they have a relationship. You can tell that they know each other. They've been affected by each other. In any story, I feel like, I have my own YouTube channel where I tell stories about disc golf, and the best ones, the only ones that really matter, seem to be the ones where I was affected positively by someone on the course, or a local player or a pro. I talk about Jay Redding, how I was affected by generosity and selflessness to take time out to, mess with. And a guy named Rocky, I talk about him and just his demeanor on the course. So I have another guy tonight to talk about, a local guy. This is the legend of a man named J.M. Blakely. Talk about him. I want to start out with a little antithesis. We've all been on the, whether it's a practice round or a tournament round where you might get unsolicited coming up to you. And, I had a guy once say, in the beginning of a tournament, I putt and he goes, "Whoa, crazy what you did right there. What your wrist did when you did that putt. If you're like me and affected by everything, that was it for my putting the rest of the tournament." Playing with foursome in a course that is as rural and rustic as it gets, Alexandria. It's called Lobdell, Alexandria, Ohio. You go out there and you feel like you're in the far out as you can get. And we have a foursome, and I believe Zach was on that card with me that day. My good friend Zach playing, and we're looking at this long hole 19, hole 13, and we're going to tee off. This nut of a man comes out of the woods, and he's like, and this was like 08, 09. The Destroyer was a new disc. He had a Destroyer in his hand, a Pro Destroyer, and it said, if you remember it said Destroyer real across the top, real big. And I looked down Sharpie, and he had marked out said Destroy, and under Destroy it said, "You bitch." So he had a disc that he had turned it from a Destroyer into a Destroy You bitch. And he throws a pretty good shot. And that was it. He taught us a lesson, told us what to do. It's gone from our lives. I also had a guy one time, this is antithesis, by the way, of what not to do. I also had a guy, my long-term partner, guy I've played, buddy, way better player than me. We're playing up in M1. He met me from Open, and I came up from M2 to meet in M1 to play in a doubles tournament. There was only one other team playing against us. There was only 4 of us that day in the tournament, and we had beaten them pretty well the first round. And so the second round, the first couple holes, I could run at us or whatever, and there was a moment where we were going to go to like 6 from 6, and I had a pretty long putt, and we're all jovial and friendly and very nice, and I hit this long putt, and one of our opponents just something I've never heard, I believe it, but those are examples of how not to be. How to be is the legend of a man who I've lost track of. I know he's still around. His name is J.M. Blakely. I was playing around and out of we came in Columbus, came up on this hole, and there was a guy who was as muscular of a human that I have ever seen in person. Absolutely built like a pile of rocks, like that rock guy from I forget what Enders that was. Much smaller, they're about the same. Both these huge, gigantic. And we learned his name. The one guy's name was J.M. Blakely. About him, that was so appealing, so impressive. He's like a giant superhero who had almost zero run-up. By this point in his life, his hips were bothering him, and he did no run-up, but he could still smoothly throw these Anheisers that were unbelievable, and had just this coolest demeanor that could be. We left there, and through and being around them, we had come to learn that JM was a world-class power lifter. And in Columbus, there's a really popular, well-known historical gym called West Side Barbell that has dozens and dozens or more world records in powerlifting. And so he was not a bodybuilder. If you look him up, if you type him into YouTube and look him up, you'll see videos of him bench pressing. I mean, he has an actual type of lift named after him. I think it's called the JM press or the Blakely. It's a type of bench press that's different, but it's done, around the world. As cool a human as you could imagine. hard to describe. Both those and Steve were just super kind, super generous, willing to hang out, and guys that you want to be like, and guys that sort of set the stage for younger players and their attitudes and how they should be. And I remember one time I played pretty well and had a chance to be, I believe it was on the lead card the second round in AM2. And I got to be around JM, someone I wanted to emulate, be like, and looked up to. And I was a newer player before 2010. And there was a young guy, the type that's hard to be around in the tournament, the type that's rooting for you to do poorly. I was in the lead after, a few holes. And I can remember hole 4, we probably had about 6 or 8 holes to play. JM's on the card. And this young man and I were kind of battling them out. And this is hole 4 on the west side course at the Hambrick when it existed. I threw my first shot very poorly. Hit the tree that's almost right in front of us. Second shot, threw it into the woods to where I had to pitch out. I'm laying 3 with about 200 feet to the basket. I must get up and down. So I throw a pretty hard hyzer at the basket, which skips way long and goes into the water. So my 4th shot is laying in the water. My 5th will be my drop. I don't know it's in the water yet. But as I throw that and fear that I'm in the water, the guy that's running, the young man I'm competing against, goes running to see if my disc went OB. Excited, showing glee at my misfortune. He runs all the way up there. Of course, it's in the water, and he's yelling back to me, "It's OB, it's OB. Do you know what you're laying now?" And I'm,
Oh my
turning
God.
over,
Yeah,
and
my fist
I'm
into your
so
face.
salty. And I'm like, how about we finish the hole and then we'll add it up together, you and me. And I am beat red. Laying 5, throw up to the basket, it rolls away. And I have to hit a long outside the circle putt because of the roll away for a 7. Thereby ending my tournament. I go walking by, JM is standing about 30 feet away. And I go walking by and I'm like, JM, this fucking guy, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And JM simply stood there with a big old thick cigar in his mouth, looked like this. And he just went. For those of you listening to audio only, JM had a big old thick cigar in his mouth and just stood there shaking his head and just shook his head, looked down, and exhaled his smoke. Never said a word. I had no idea to this day if he was shaking his head about the kid or if he was shaking his head about that bullshit hole I just played. But all I knew after that was I wanted to be just like him.
Oh, Jim. Hell of a story.
And that's how I took up cigar smoking.
The props were greatly appreciated. And, oh man, I think it's so relatable. I think we all have those people we encounter that just make us realize that like, this is what I want to be. It's for me, it's those guys out on the course that are calling out the BS and, and doing that. But the real ones are the ones that don't say anything. They just stand there and they put in the work and they give of themselves to the community. And like when you were growing up, and I mean, I know when you were growing up, James, maybe a little different than when I was growing up, but it's the same principle where when your parents told you they were disappointed in you, it was always worse than if they told you they were mad at you. and
Yes.
disappointment and the need to like please people. And then there's those guys in the community where like they don't have to say it, but I feel like if like they're disappointed in me because of the way I acted on the course or because of something I did, and they won't say it and they won't call it out, but you'll just know it and you'll feel it. And like I feel so bad. Those people that have given so much of themselves that don't look for the recognition. When I let those guys down, those are the guys I feel really bad about it. And I'm happy to say I don't do that often. There's a couple times I acted pretty immaturely, you know, when I got into the sport and I was highly competitive and I wasn't so successful and, you know, some bag kicking may have occurred and, you know, some of that
Don't be
language.
so hard on yourself, Brandon.
Some of
that
that
was weeks ago.
But I mean, it was yesterday, if we're going to be honest. But no, but no, and just I didn't learn from people telling me, "Hey, stop being an ass." I learned when people stopped wanting to let me join the group and stuff like that, and quietly made me realize they were disappointed in the way I was acting. And it's so right, James, that sometimes silence speaks so much more than anything he could have said in that moment to you. I think.
Yeah. Well, you know, guys like, it was obvious what his work ethic was in his life. And, you know, I had other funny material. What is so impressive about people and the people you want to please are usually those that are just out there grinding and working hard. And clearly, you know, he had a work ethic that was so many of the players I look up to. You know, Brody Smith, for one, there is no doubt in my mind that he is put better an insane amount of time, like he did in his other ventures as well. I don't know if you guys heard Paul Macbeth talking about putters and when he switches putters out. And the quote that he said was, when he puts his new putters in the bag, that putter, which he considers new, usually has 1,000 putts on it. And to me, that's just, I'm always so impressed by work ethic. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Chris
Well, for
Kerns.
him, that's like 10 days of practice putting.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
That's only 100 putts a day. Chris Kerns, this guy's got good work ethic. I think we've only got a couple minutes left today, and I definitely want to chat quickly about the Wolfpack Discs tournament on the weekend. And Chris was out there working his butt off, helping Brian Frawley, who was also working his butt off. I think everyone involved in that tournament is a crazy example of work ethic and working together and make great stuff happen. Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about what went down this weekend?
Yeah, so we had Wolfpack Discs Open presented by Washtenaw County Glow. And Washtenaw County Glow is one of our local clubs. I'm actually a council member with them. It's the first sponsor I ever had, actually. My good friend Scott Sproul wanted to start doing more than just a Glow League on Wednesday nights, and pulled me and a few other regulars in, asked us if we wanted to be council, and also made us the first group of guys sponsored by the club. But we've got a great relationship with Wolfpack Discs and Brian Frawley. Brian's helped our club a lot as we've gotten into tournaments and sponsoring players. So this tournament was a B tier, and it was a feature event. And in Michigan, feature events are for the state championships. You have to qualify to get into our state championship, because there's just, every year we have, it's over 500 players now go to our state championship. So we actually have to award berths for it, because there's just so many freaking disc golfers here. So we had we had 144 competitors over the weekend.
Wow.
And there was a huge wait list too, but everything ran great. I mean, honestly, I could have sat there and done nothing, and Sproul and Brian could have ran a flawless tournament. But the nice thing is we have a lot of members of Team WC Glow and Team Wolfpack that show up to help. So our total tournament staff for the 2 days combined was probably 25 people, more than what we needed. But they've tweaked the layout at both courses at Independence Lake. It's in Whitmore Lake, Michigan, beautiful park. It's definitely a must play in my book if you're coming to the area. I mean, this park keeps the tee pads clear in the winter. They actually go out and shovel them.
That's amazing.
So it's a great park. It's got a mix of everything. They still need to make some tweaks with the new layout, but it's pretty awesome. We had a pro field. I want to say we had like 60 pros out there playing. And we actually had a stacked FPO field. I should probably pull it up. It was a gangster. But yeah, this last weekend, I'm in a crazy stretch here because I've got this weekend coming up, the Lower Peninsula Open, that I'm one of the tournament directors for, and that's an A tier. And that's Washington County Glow again, and then Huron Valley disc golf. We're teaming up to run that. So our boy Brad Schick's going to be in town.
Nice.
And there's going to be quite a few pros for that. So yeah, I'm just in the middle of a hurricane right now, helping with events.
Well, we hope you weather the storm, Chris. It's going to be a busy week. It's been a busy week. I weathered the storm. I finally have like a week coming up where I may be able to breathe for a couple nights. So I'm excited about that. And Mr. Paul Blair, what's the rest of your week look like?
I got my second Pfizer tracking chip 5G conspiracy injection this week. I've slept, I think, 18 of the last 24 hours. So I don't have plans, and I like it that way. Stay tuned for next time when I'm back to my exciting life of, well, no, actually, that's not right either.
Well, thanks for braving your own hurricane of drowsiness and just need to hit your pillow. And we appreciate you being here with us tonight, man, and hanging out. And James White, thank you so much for hanging out tonight, telling us some stories, talking to us, giving us your take on disc golf over the last couple weeks. And it's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure and honor.
I love story time.
Hell yeah, we do. And we'll have James back again. And next week, we won't have a podcast because it's every 2 weeks. So we'll see you 2 weeks from now on Wednesday, same time, same place, same channel. And don't forget, I mean, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you've already done so. But if you're checking it out on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Circle 3 podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on any of your favorite podcast platforms. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, the 6th of May, 2021, we will be putting up a post on our Instagram. Head to that post, follow the instructions, enter for a chance to win a Wicked giveaway from both of our sponsors. One winner will win a $25 gift certificate from Sweet Spot Disc Golf and a hat from Wolfpack Discs. Check it out tomorrow. And with that, from Brandon, Chris, Paul, and James, this is Circle 3. We hope you guys have an awesome couple weeks. We'll see you on the other side. Have a good night.
Deuces.
Good night.